Knowledge doesn't always move forward.
Before we begin, just a quiet note. If long, unhurried explorations like this help you relax or give your mind a place to slow down, you're welcome to subscribe. It simply keeps this space nearby whenever you feel like returning to it. There is a reason this idea unsettles us. Not because it is strange, not because it is extreme, but because it quietly challenges something fundamental about how we see ourselves. The possibility that we are not the first does not threaten our knowledge. It threatens our identity. Modern humanity has grown accustomed to seeing itself as a beginning. The beginning of science, the beginning of understanding, the beginning of true civilization. This narrative is comforting. It places us at the center of the story. It gives us ownership of progress. It assures us that what we are building is unprecedented. But comfort does not equal truth, and comfort often resists questions. When someone suggests that others may have lived, thought, organized, and disappeared before us, our instinct is not curiosity, it is defense. We look for reasons to dismiss the idea, to minimize it, to explain it away. Not because it is necessarily false, but because it feels destabilizing. If we are not the first, then we are not unique. And if we are not unique, then our position feels less secure. This discomfort is deeply human. It has very little to do with evidence. It has everything to do with meaning. We attach meaning to beginnings, to being the ones who figured things out, the ones who broke through ignorance, the ones who finally understood the world. This story gives us a sense of direction. It tells us where we came from and where we are going. But direction depends on contrast. It requires a past that is simpler, less aware, less capable. If the past becomes complex, the contrast softens. And when the contrast softens, the story loses clarity. This is why the idea of earlier civilizations often triggers strong reactions. Not because it undermines science, but because it complicates the narrative. It blurs the line between then and now. It suggests that understanding may not belong to a single moment in time. And that suggestion makes us uneasy. We prefer progress to be linear. We prefer improvement to be cumulative. We prefer to believe that what we know today could not have been known before. This belief is not accidental. It reinforces our sense of achievement. It justifies our confidence. It makes the present feel special. But the present is always special to those living in it. Earlier humans likely felt the same. They too lived at the edge of their understanding. They too made sense of the world with the tools available to them. They too believed their solutions were sufficient for the problems they faced. This does not make them primitive. It makes them human. When we imagine the past as fundamentally limited, we are not describing evidence. We are describing ourselves. We project our need for distinction backward. We draw a line between us and them to protect our sense of advancement. But advancement is contextual. What looks like progress from one angle may look like repetition from another. And repetition challenges the idea that history has a single direction. This is where the discomfort deepens. Because if history does not move cleanly forward, then what are we moving toward? If civilizations can rise, adapt, and disappear without leaving lasting marks, then permanence is not guaranteed. And if permanence is not guaranteed, then legacy becomes uncertain. We like to believe that what we build will last, that our cities, our records, our knowledge will endure. But this belief is fragile. It depends on stability, and stability has never been permanent. The idea that others may have come before us forces us to confront this fragility. It suggests that disappearance is not an anomaly. It is a phase. And that idea is difficult to accept because it places us within a cycle rather than at a climax. Cycles do not privilege any single moment. They repeat. They continue. They move on. Being part of a cycle is less flattering than being the end result of progress. This is why we often resist cyclical views of history. They reduce our sense of exceptionality.
They imply that what we experience has been experienced before in different forms, and that implication can feel diminishing. But this reaction is rooted in ego, not evidence. It arises from our desire to matter uniquely, to be the ones who finally arrived. This desire is understandable. Meaning is easier to hold when we believe it is rare, but rarity is not the only source of meaning. Participation is another, and participation does not require uniqueness. It requires presence. The idea that others may have lived and understood the world before us does not reduce our value. It situates us. It places us within a longer story that we did not begin and will not end. This perspective can feel threatening only if we believe that value comes from being first. But value does not come from chronology. It comes from experience, from how we live, from how we respond to uncertainty, from how we treat one another within the time we are given. The discomfort we feel when confronted with the possibility of earlier civilizations is not about the past. It is about control. Beginnings give us control. They make the story feel manageable. They allow us to define terms. But deep time resists control. It stretches beyond ownership. It dissolves clear boundaries. And when boundaries dissolve, certainty becomes harder to maintain. This is why we often demand proof before allowing ourselves to wonder. Proof acts as a barrier. It keeps speculation contained. It protects us from unsettling possibilities. But wonder does not require proof. It requires humility. And humility is uncomfortable when we are accustomed to confidence. As we move deeper into this idea, it is important to recognize that resistance is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign of attachment. Attachment to narratives that help us feel oriented. Attachment to identities built on progress. Attachment to the idea that we are standing at a singular moment in history. Letting go of these attachments does not mean abandoning reason. It means making room for perspective. And perspective is what this journey requires. Not belief, not certainty, just the willingness to consider that our discomfort says something important about us. Beyond identity, there is another reason this idea unsettles us. It threatens certainty. Human beings are not built for endless uncertainty. We seek patterns, we look for structure, we want stories that resolve cleanly. Certainty gives us something solid to stand on. It allows us to say, this is where we came from and this is where we are going. But deep time resists certainty. It does not offer clean beginnings. It does not respect clear endings.
It does not arrange itself around our need for meaning. Instead, it stretches, it blurs, it absorbs. And when we confront that scale, our usual frameworks feel small. The idea that civilizations could arise, adapt, and vanish without trace introduces a kind of uncertainty we are uncomfortable holding, because it suggests that understanding is temporary, that knowledge is contextual, that even clarity can fade. This is unsettling because we like to believe that once something is known, it remains known. But history tells a different story. Certainty is fragile. It depends on continuity. Break the chain of transmission and certainty dissolves. This is why uncertainty feels dangerous. It threatens the belief that progress secures truth. If knowledge can be lost, then knowing is not permanent. And if knowing is not permanent, then our confidence feels less justified. This discomfort often manifests as dismissal. We label uncertainty as ignorance. We treat unanswered questions as flaws rather than limits. But limits are not failures, they are boundaries, and boundaries define humility. Another layer of discomfort comes from control. When we believe we are at the beginning, we feel in control of the narrative. We decide what matters, we define significance, we frame the story. But if the story extends far beyond us, control weakens. We become participants rather than authors, and participation feels less secure than authorship. This loss of control is subtle but powerful. It challenges the assumption that history bends toward us, that we are the culmination. Instead, it suggests we are one moment among many, and that suggestion can feel diminishing if we equate importance with centrality. But importance does not require centrality. Meaning does not require being first. These ideas feel abstract, yet they touch something personal. They touch the fear that our lives might not echo forever, that our achievements might not endure, that our understanding might one day be reduced to fragments. This fear is rarely acknowledged openly. Instead, it disguises itself as skepticism, as demands for evidence, as insistence on rigid timelines. These demands are not always about truth. Sometimes they are about reassurance. They reassure us that the world is predictable, that progress is linear, that our place in history is secure. Uncertainty disrupts this reassurance. It asks us to sit with not knowing, to accept that some questions may remain open. This is deeply uncomfortable in a culture that prizes answers. We are trained to resolve uncertainty quickly, to label, to categorize, to conclude. But some uncertainty cannot be resolved without distortion. Deep time is one of those uncertainties. It cannot be compressed into a clean narrative without losing honesty. This is why the idea of earlier civilizations often triggers defensive reactions. It opens a door to question. It touches something unresolved. It touches our relationship with time, with meaning, with permanence. We want to believe that what we know now will always be known, that what we value will always be valued. But history suggests otherwise. Values shift, priorities change, knowledge adapts or fades. This does not make history tragic. It makes it alive. But aliveness is unstable, and instability is unsettling. This is why we cling to linear narratives. They offer stability. They reassure us that progress secures permanence. But permanence has never been guaranteed. And accepting that does not weaken us. It grounds us. It allows us to engage with the past without demanding that it justify the present. It allows us to explore ideas without turning them into threats. And it allows us to sit with uncertainty without rushing to resolve it. This capacity to sit with uncertainty is rare, but it is essential. Because without it, we cannot engage honestly with deep time. We cannot explore the possibility that humanity's story is larger than our records. We cannot consider that understanding may have emerged, faded, and returned many times before. Not because we lack evidence, but because evidence itself is fragile.
As we move toward the final part of this module, we will bring these threads together. We will examine how ego, certainty, and fear of insignificance shape our resistance. And we will ask a quieter question, not whether the idea is true, but what it reveals about how we define meaning. When we strip away ego, certainty, and the need for control, something quieter remains. A simple truth. We want our existence to matter, and we often confuse mattering with being first. Being first feels important. It feels definitive. It feels like ownership. If we are the beginning, then the story belongs to us. But if we are part of a longer sequence, then ownership dissolves, and what remains is participation. Participation is less flattering, but more honest. It asks us to accept that we did not start the story, and that we will not finish it. This acceptance can feel like loss, but it is not. It is perspective. The discomfort we feel when confronted with the idea that others may have lived, understood, and disappeared before us comes from a misunderstanding. We assume that meaning diminishes when it is shared, but meaning does not work that way. A moment does not lose its value because it is not unique. A life does not lose its significance because it is one among many. Uniqueness is not the source of worth. Presence is. This is what deep time teaches us when we allow it to, that meaning is not stored in chronology, it is lived. The fear of insignificance is a fear of vanishing without acknowledgement, but acknowledgement has never been guaranteed. Most lives that have ever existed left no trace, not because they were unimportant, but because the universe does not archive experience. It experiences it, and then it moves on. This is not cruel, it is neutral. We are the ones who attach anxiety to impermanence. Earlier humans may not have. They lived with the understanding that continuity did not require remembrance, that existence did not need witnesses, that life could be meaningful without being recorded. We have lost some of this comfort. We seek permanence because we are aware of loss. We record obsessively because we fear forgetting. But forgetting is not the opposite of meaning. It is the boundary that gives meaning urgency. If everything lasted forever, nothing would matter now. Impermanence is what gives weight to choice, to attention, to care. The idea that civilizations may have risen and fallen before us does not erase our value. It places us within a rhythm of emergence, adaptation, and disappearance. This rhythm is not a failure. It is life expressed at scale. When we resist this idea, we are not defending science, we are defending comfort. Comfort in narratives that place us at the center. Comfort in the belief that we are moving toward something final. But history has never moved toward finality. It moves toward change, always. This realization invites a shift from asking, "Are we the first?" to asking, "What does it mean to be here now?" The first question seeks status. The second seeks responsibility. If others lived before us and vanished, then permanence is not promised. And if permanence is not promised, then what matters most is how we live within the time we have, how we treat one another, how we respond to uncertainty, how we care for the world that will continue without us. This perspective does not diminish ambition, it grounds it. It reminds us that legacy is not guaranteed by scale or permanence. It is created in moments of presence, in choices that ripple outward, even if they are never recorded. The past does not demand that we be the first. It asks that we be attentive. Attentive to fragility, attentive to impermanence, attentive to the fact that meaning does not require eternity. When we release the need to be exceptional in time, we gain something quieter: belonging. We belong to a long continuum of life that learned, adapted, and made sense of the world with the tools available to it. We are not separate from that continuum. We are not superior to it. We are within it.
This is not a loss of identity, it is an expansion, because identity rooted in participation is more resilient than identity rooted in exception. The idea that others may have come before us does not weaken our story, it deepens it. It suggests that understanding is not rare, but recurring, that intelligence is not a miracle, but a natural response to existence, and that what we are doing now, questioning, reflecting, seeking meaning, has likely been done before, not in the same words, not in the same forms, but in essence. This does not make our efforts redundant, it makes them human. As we prepare to move into the final part of this journey, we do so without answers, and that is intentional, because answers close doors, perspective opens them. The final question is not whether civilizations existed before us. The final question is what kind of civilization we choose to be, knowing that impermanence is inevitable, knowing that memory fades, knowing that one day we too will become a fragment. If anything remains of us, it will not be our certainty. It will be how we lived in the face of uncertainty. And that is where this journey leads, not backward into speculation, but forward into reflection.